So I recently put out a short form video titled Six Signs You Are Hooked to External Validation. And this was one of the more popular shorts that I put out on YouTube. And there was a bunch of comments. And out of those comments that I saw a few that showed the importance of a message like this, right? It showed how many people are not only caught up in this seeking of external validation, but how many of us justify it. How many of us believe this to be normal simply because we're social creatures? We believe that external validation is a necessary component of life. However, in truth, external validation keeps us apart from, well, the essence of what true validity is, which is the finding of validation within ourselves, finding that worthiness, that deservedness, that enoughness within. Because so long as we seek it from the external, it will never be enough. It will never satisfy. And we will continue to create what Carrie Nicole calls an external validation tolerance, where we need more and more external validation to meet our needs. We need more and more of a hit in order to get that high until there's not enough supply in the entire universe to make us feel whole. And so, again, this is a quick rehash of 6 signs that you're indeed hooked to external validation. Again, this is for any and everybody, whether you're already in your healing journey or your wholeness journey, whether you're already doing the shadow and the inner work, or you're somebody who is completely brand new, right? You're just discovering this aspect of your conditioning, and you're looking to at least be aware of it, to create some sort of consciousness about this in order to finally do something about it. So this video, I'm not specifically going into how to eradicate it necessarily, as I've created a multitude of those and will create a multitude of videos just on that. But today I just want to take some time to diagnose the problem, if we're to say that. So let's get into it. The 6 signs that you're indeed hooked to external validation. The first one is a vital one, absolute and utmost importance, and that is you feel the need to get permission to do the things you want to do with your own life. So looking for or seeking permission is one of those things that most of us have been conditioned to do in every walk of our lives. We see it as normal. We see it as just a part of everyday living to get permission. So it starts in the earliest stages of life, right? Can I go outside? Can I leave the table? Can I do this? Now we're in the school system. We have to raise our hands to go to the bathroom. Can I go to the bathroom? Like, think about that. I understand the logic behind it. I understand the reasoning we're given. But when it's all said and done, this is conditioning us socially to have to seek permission to do the very essential, the very necessities of life, right? Can I do something with my body that my body does naturally? Am I allowed to do this, Mr. and Mrs. Teacher? So, seeking permission from the external environment, seeking permission from others to do things in life will also transition into us doing the things we desire to do. For instance, before I started making, let's say, YouTube videos or writing the books, recording the music, etc., I would ask, is this okay for me to do? Should I do this or should I not? Even if I didn't think I was asking for permission, I was still looking for permission in my external environment. Is this okay to do? If nobody else is doing it, is it actually okay? Right? So permission is something that can truly stand between us and the vision that we have for our lives, us and the dreams that we want to manifest within this physical reality. And that is baked into us from the earliest stages. So when you recognize this, you know that you are indeed hooked to external validation. Number 2, you stress over how people will perceive your actions. Now, this one has to do with reputation. And I'm somebody who lived a majority of my life up until this point caring so much about how people would see the things that I did. I wanted to be understood. I wanted people to like me, to see me as a good person. And so I would do those things that would have people perceive me in a certain way. Now, this seems innocent on the surface, but when you dig a little deeper, you start to see that, wait a minute, this is detrimental. This is destructive even, because I will continuously do things that are inauthentic, inorganic, right? Things that are not truly aligned with who I am. So I will suppress the true self in order to engage in activities that I believe that others will deem as adequate, as worthy, as good enough, as worthy of their validation. So that's the second one, is stressing over how people perceive your actions, which means how they see and view you, because people can only go off of their own perception. All of life is perception. And if somebody sees you as not good enough, or somebody sees you as evil, as bad, that's just their perception. And so you trying to fit into the mold of them seeing you as anything other than that is a foolish pursuit. Number 3, you do things based on the responses others have or others will have. So this one ties right into that second one, which is again the stress that comes from how people perceive me, and then now doing things based on the responses. So again, this is the habitual, continual structuring of the way that I'm living in order for me to get a certain response. I want people to then do something. So people pleasing is a huge one, right? I want to get the reaction from you. I want to get this response from you. I want you to let's say, quote unquote, appreciate me. I want you to praise me. I want you to thank me for everything that I've done. I want you to give me gifts or whatever it may be. So I start to do things in order to get that response and that reaction from you. And when I don't, I become bitter. I become resentful. So that's a huge indicator right there. That's a self red flag. That's a big time notification that's popping up on the phone that is your life saying, hey, you are hooked to external validation. If you're doing things to get a response and a reaction from people, it is actually a sign of manipulation. Or as we'd say back home, it is witchcraft. Number 4, you feel the need to have others meet your needs and believe it is their responsibility to do so. Now, I've created a few videos on this topic specifically because I believe that it is of the utmost importance. We need to understand that it is not our job to manage other people's emotional states. Neither is it their job to do so for us. So we were raised on this belief that it was our job to make, let's say, our parents happy. It was our job to make our siblings happy. It was our job to make our community happy, to make people feel comfortable, right? Stop acting like that. You're making people feel uncomfortable. We got that conditioning from a very young age, and we started to believe that it was our job, our responsibility, our role to make everyone around us feel a certain type of way. And so we believe that it was other people's responsibility to make us feel a certain type of way. And so we're continuously seeking others to act in a certain way, to show up, how we want them to show up so they can make us feel good, so they can make us feel as if we're having our perceived needs met. When in truth, it is only us who could meet those needs. We're the only ones who can show ourselves enough appreciation to feel appreciated. We're the only ones who can love ourselves enough to feel loved by anybody else. And so when we have this perpetual need to have other people essentially validate us in that way, other people to quote unquote meet our needs, which is something that is taught in a lot of these psychology circles, etc. And that's not something I stand behind, right? I don't attest to it. Now, should you find somebody who's compatible? It's absolutely. I believe you should have somebody who is your complete spiritual doppelganger, right? And that's what I have within my own life. And it's the most beautiful union you can have, your true soulmate. However, it's still not her job to meet my needs. Though she pours into me continuously and I pour into her continuously, it is not our responsibilities to meet one another's needs. It is our own. Number 5, you feel uncomfortable when others are and feel you feel uncomfortable when others are and feel responsible for it. So I wrote it in a funny way, but essentially it's if other people feel some type of way, then you automatically feel some type of way. Now, this is sometimes pointed towards as empathy. And we use the empath title sometimes as a means to position ourselves, right? I'm just such an empath. Like we use it to brag. I'll be honest with you. When I used to use that terminology frequently, more frequently than not, right? Calling myself an empath, etc. A lot of that came from, I'm just so sensitive. I'm just, I just feel everything and I perceive everything, etc. When in truth, this is oftentimes nothing more than an indicator that I do not have the ability to separate my own emotions from the emotions of others. So if somebody is in my environment and they feel uncomfortable, I would feel the need to make that person comfortable, regardless and in spite of whatever was going on, right? In spite of what I was feeling at that moment, I felt the need to be the social lubricant in that situation. And so you can't be in a room when somebody's uncomfortable and not feel uncomfortable yourself. And I know this sounds so difficult. It sounds so outlandish. It sounds like something that is impossible to reach, but I promise you, it is a state that all of us are being called towards. And empathy isn't necessarily putting yourself in somebody's shoes to where it's like if somebody is heavily depressed, you must become depressed. There's a saying by Abraham Hicks where she says, you can't get sick enough to help the sick get well. You can't get poor enough to help the poor get rich. And you can't get sad enough to help the sad feel better or become happy. You must be the representation of the very thing that person needs. We hold space for one another, but we don't bring ourselves into that very essence of that thing, right? We think that's compassion, but that's not true compassion. When we're taking the emotions of somebody else onto ourselves, we're not doing that person a service. We're not doing them a justice. Again, when we hold space, we're being true to who we are and where we are, and we're also we're honoring where they are, right? And that's a very difficult one for most people because we're so hung up on this thing of I don't want to seem like a bad person. I don't want to be perceived as this type of person. I don't want to be seen as that type of person. So if somebody's uncomfortable, then I'm uncomfortable. If my best friend's feeling some type of way, I'm feeling some type of way, right? If they're about to go beast mode, I'm about to go beast mode. As opposed to I understand where you are and I hear where you are and I empathize with that. I understand where that's coming from. Sometimes we can empathize, but we can just be compassionate, right? We don't know what it would be like to be in those shoes, but we don't have to get into that state of consciousness in order for us to do something for that person. So that being said, on to the next one. Number 6 is we wait for the praise of others as opposed to praising ourselves. Now, this is an interesting one. When I covered this one in the short form video that I put out, somebody dropped a Bible verse. You always got somebody dropping some Bible verse on something that has nothing to do with anything biblical. The Christians always gonna come. Trust me, I know. I was 20 some odd years, 23 years a quote unquote Christian, so I understand that. So they dropped a verse and it said, "Wait for other men's lips to praise you and not your own." And I was like, okay, that's something I would have said to somebody for 23 years straight, right? You should never praise yourself. You should never praise yourself. That is pride, that is arrogance, that is, conceit, etc. When in truth, we have been, again, conditioned to believe that somebody else's opinion of us is more important than our own. And so we wait for the validation of others. We wait for other people to praise us. We wait for other people to see us in a certain way before we see ourselves in that light. So we act, quote unquote, humble, but we're actually belittling and demeaning ourselves in most cases. And then we wait for the rest of the world to do it for us. When in truth, it is our responsibility to celebrate ourselves. This isn't saying I am better than the next person. That is still a sign of insecurity. When you need to be better than somebody, when you need to be more superior than somebody else, that is a sign of insecurity. But when you can say that I am enough, I am more than enough, I am loved, I'm a child of the infinite. Like if you really have that at your essence, why would you not? Why would you tell yourself anything other than that? Most of us, we put on, again, this false humility. Oh, I'm nothing. Oh, that's nothing. Oh, that's not good enough. Somebody compliments your clothes. Oh, it was only $5. Like everything, we just continue to belittle and belittle and belittle because we want others to continue to praise us, right? Believing that our own opinion of ourselves does not matter. And we have to get back to a place where it does and it matters most. So let me run through these one more time and then we are out of here. Oh, before I get into that, quick plug of my first published book, Doing Me Guilt-Free, Breaking Free from People Pleasing and Unleashing Your True Personal Power. This is a lifetime hand guide to exactly what we're talking about here, right? So I'll plug this book every video, but this one, it is absolutely relevant. Like it is spot on. So this is the breaking of that external validation. So make sure to get yourself a copy by clicking the link in the description. So I'm going to run through these one more time. The 6 signs that you're indeed hooked to external validation. Number 1, you feel the need to get permission to do the things that you want to do within your own life. Number 2, you stress over how people will perceive your actions. Number 3, you do things based on the responses or to manipulate others and what they do. Number 4, you feel the need to have others meet your needs and you believe that it is their responsibility to do so. Number 5, you feel uncomfortable when other people are, and so you feel responsible for how those people feel. Number 6, boom, boom, you wait for other people to praise you before you praise yourself. So make sure to run through this list a few times if necessary, or to stop in a specific one and really internalize it, to understand, to become aware of it. I believe awareness is 49 to 51% of the journey, right? Once you become aware, now you have a decision to make. And when you make the decision to change the thing, all the universe is conspiring to help you in that direction. So that being said, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Till the next time, namaste, namaskar.